Greetings and welcome to another of our monthly Q&As with Jim McCarty. My name is Jonathan Tong and I'm facilitator for the Seattle Law of One study group. We can be found in the list of study groups at the L&L Research website shown on your screen. We do also have a Facebook group and we meet on Zoom twice a week, Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time, Saturdays 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. You don't have to live in Seattle or anywhere near Seattle to join our Facebook group or our Zoom sessions. Anyone who's interested and available is welcome to join. Just contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com to get on our mailing list. We send out emails once a week with information on what we're talking about that week, as well as Zoom links. We do also have a YouTube channel where we keep recordings of our podcast episodes, as well as recordings of our previous Q&As with Jim McCarty. Just go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to get notifications when we upload new videos, and contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com if you'd like to sit in on any of our Q&A sessions. Once again, we are lucky and blessed to be joined by your good friend Jim McCarty for some informal conversation, questions, and answers about the Law of One. How are you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing well. Just got back from my neighbor's yard across the street. She's in a care home, and I'm cleaning up the yard, leaves and branches so it can be rented out.
Oh, nice. Such a beautiful gift. Yeah, I believe you keep her hummingbird feeders filled too, also, correct?
Yeah, hummingbirds and the birdseed too. Birdseed year round. Hummingbirds hopefully start next month.
Oh, nice. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We do actually have quite a few questions that were submitted in advance, and I know folks here on the Zoom call have questions too. So if you don't mind, Jim, I'd like to go ahead and just jump right into things. Last time we met, you shared with us a couple passages from Carla's autobiography, which you recently discovered, and I believe you sent me a couple other passages that we would be able to look at today. I've got one here. Do you want to go ahead and read through this for our viewers?
We meditate in the morning and again in the evening. There's time for devotion there. There's nothing stopping me from thinking of the Creator with every breath I take. Nothing except the glamour of the world illusion. My, how I love the beautiful veils of that illusion. How I love the workings of Vanity Fair. Oh yes, world, I will buy your posies. I will delight in your wares and dance your dances. I'm not wise enough to walk away. Or perhaps there is rightness in my being right here, right now, doing exactly what I'm doing. There needs to be a loving consciousness brought to this environment just as is brought to the obviously contemplative one. These people I meet today hunger to love and to be loved, and we will together reach out to each other and create what healing touch of spirit to spirit we can. So that's the first one, and the short one at the bottom is, it is in the city that I am involved in leading my life. That is my reality. I get up knowing that today I will venture forth from the magic kingdom. I will see Louisville's familiar skyline and drive in traffic, and I will interact with many people doing multiple chores, mostly connected with either the paper mountain on my desk or the running of the home, which Mick and I do together. And she had a former husband and a brother named Jim, so I became Mickey, which is McCarty. And when it was special, she would call me Mickle.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's so beautiful. I thought it was Mick Jagger there for a second. Thanks for that clarification.
Keith Richards.
Yeah. So do you remember like roughly what year this was? Roughly what time? Does it bring back
93 and
memories for you?
94, basically a little bit into 95. I believe this was actually not her autobiography, although she covers a lot of ground in it. But it's a preparation for writing for writing a Wanderer's Handbook.
Hmm.
And that was published in 2000. So I think this was the preparation for it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm noting the mountain of paperwork there, the paper mountain. Was that pretty typical? Did she just always have piles of papers around?
Oh,
Stuff?
yeah. Back in the days before computers, she had piles of letters, snail mail. And then when computers rolled around, and she named her computer Teeny, Teny. And she talked to Teeny a lot because she had problems with Teeny too. So the emails would back up in her inbox, and Sometimes she had a hard time getting them all done because she was also the president of the Episcopal Church women in the Calvary Episcopal Church, where we were eventually married. And she would cook for them, and there were dozens and dozens of people that came to those gatherings, and so she cooked for all of them. She went down on Wednesday morning and cleaned the kitchen. Sometimes I went with her.
Wow. So beautiful. Yeah, what a blessing for everyone, I would think. Sounds like this is pretty joyful time. Did she often refer to her place as the Magic Kingdom? Did it
Yeah,
feel
this is
that way?
where I'm living now. She called it the Magic Kingdom. That's what I call it too.
Nice. Definitely feels magical. Folks who are on Zoom, and we've got more than a few folks with us on Zoom, feel free to raise your hand if you have any follow-up questions you'd like to ask. Otherwise, Jim, okay if we look at a second passage?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I love the fonts here, by the way. This one is in a different font. Do you want to go
She
ahead?
uses the English spellings, color like COLOUR, things like that.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. Jim was learning a new routine, in which case there was the inevitable aggravation factor. Only 3 short weeks after his arrival, we received our first contact from Ra. Suddenly, the whole world revolved around these sessions. Don knew immediately that he wanted to preserve this contact, and we 3 very consciously settled down into a routine that revolved around the sessions. Ra kept pointing out things that could be done better in the banishing ritual used to cleanse the workspace, the way I was positioned, and the configuration of the altar at my head. As the sessions mounted up, there began to be a whole routine we needed to observe. Ra encouraged exercise, talked about my diet, and gave Don, the questioner, bulletins on my condition. I felt like an athlete. This was exhilarating, even as it was debilitating. I began to lose weight rapidly, between 1 and 3 pounds lost after a session. In a few months' time, I checked in at 84 pounds. I ate and ate, never a big eater. I was trying now to eat 3 meals a day, just forcing food down. But the sessions consumed every calorie. I did not care. I would gladly have given my life to prolong the contact. It felt wonderful to be doing this work. It felt marvelous to have Don say, "This is my life's work, and I am satisfied with it." I had wished for so long to hear that sentiment, and it was sweet indeed. My physical difficulties were challenging, and I can't finish. How do I get down to the bottom of the page here?
That's okay. That's the passage that you sent, and I think there's so much in there to meditate on and contemplate. I'm just thinking about the physical toll that the raw contact took on her body is amazing.
3 pounds a day. Can you believe that? I mean, 3 physical pounds of her body. And I've never really understood that.
Yeah. Was that part of the reason that the quo contact came about, so that the conscious channeling would not take quite as much of a toll on her physical body as the trance channeling did?
No, the quo channels came around after the raw contact was over. During the raw contact, this was just something that was always there.
Right. Did she have any of the same physical difficulties with the quo contact?
Oh, yeah. She had physical difficulties all her life long. She had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, was probably the biggest one. And that limited the functioning of her body a lot. And she had various things that went wrong with her body. She had, I don't know how many operations she had on her wrist, on her elbow. After the raw contact, I think she had part of her colon removed. Her body was pretty challenged, but her spirit and her mind were not challenged at all.
It sounds like it was a sacrifice she was happy to make.
Oh, she was happy to, like she said, she would willingly die for the contact. And she almost, well, she didn't really die. I think it was August 16th, 1981, there was a Sunday night meditation channeling where she was asked a question that she didn't know the answer to. And so she just in her mind, she said, I don't know the answer to that. I wish I was channeling Ra. And that was just enough for her to begin leaving her body. And our negative friend, the fifth density, was eager to have her leave her body because he would take her, or she, I never knew if it was a he or she, it doesn't really matter, to the negative time space where she would have about, a few million years to regain her polarity. But fortunately, Latwii kept channeling through her so that that wasn't possible, and that she was
Yeah.
reintegrated into her body.
Yeah. Yeah, hard to imagine anything more terrifying than that on such a weird psychic level. Raquel had her hand up for a while. Raquel, sorry, thanks for waiting. Did you have a follow up question?
I did, and no worries. I'm enjoying the conversation. Nice to see you again, Jim. I'm glad you're here as usual. Enjoying you on Wednesdays and seeing you more often is a delight. Um, I actually, I don't really know how to pose this question, but last reading the Law of One on Wednesday, we were talking about your assist with Carla in terms of the sexual energy transfer. And I jumped in and I said, wow, Jim had a lot of sexual energy because to be able to transfer it, you're literally the one who helped push along the contact because of that, the transfers. How do you feel? Like, I'm not sure how to pose this, but how did you know you had that type of energy that was like able to transfer, like, or did you cultivate it? I'm just trying to figure out how you mustered up that form of energy to give to her to continue the contact.
Well, I think that the basic requirement is that for a sexual energy transfer to occur, your heart center must be open. You must be willing to serve others more than 51% of the time. So if that heart center is open and is open in Carla, which they both were, then we could transfer energy. If one of us did not have the center open, we couldn't transfer the energy. So I think that's true for anyone. But most people don't have the raw contact to work with, so the energy transfers aren't something that are necessary and helpful for keeping the session going longer.
Mm.
That was basically what happened. We discovered that after session 16, uh, because we'd had a sexual relationship before the raw contact, but we hadn't connected it with how it worked. So session 16 was the longest one. I think there were 64 or 5 questions and answers. And so we finally connected the two. And so before the night before every raw contact, we had sexual energy exchanges, beginning with, I think it was session 40. Well, no, it had to be before the, well, after six, I guess it was after session 16.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's
Which is pretty
amazing.
early in the game. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was like.
Yeah.
As soon as you joined, like Raw knew, okay, they're together now. Let's get this party going. It's like literally what she said, and you're like, "Yep, let's do this." So, um, and did you find what was my question about the sexual energy? What was your offering? I've asked this, I think you've been asked this before, but how did you offer it? Did you just say this love is transferred in the name of the one infinite creator, and then you guys just
When we discovered that the sexual energy transfers were helping the raw contact to be longer, we dedicated all of our lovemaking to the
okay,
one infinite creator.
it's just a physical statement. This is dedicated.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Love it. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you for your
So
question.
beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Colin, did you have a follow up question also on
Well, I have a
this
question for
topic?
you, Jonathan. Could you take the readings off the screen so I can see people's faces?
Yeah, except I'm gonna have to put them back on. Do you want to set your Zoom window on gallery view? And if you do, should be able to see everyone's. I can see everyone on my screen. It's
Where's
just that it's blocking the text. So when I have to read
gallery
text,
view down around the bottom? I don't see it on my computer.
I think in the upper right hand corner of your Zoom window where it says
Uh,
view, if you
oh, view. Okay.
click
And
on that, and then gallery view should
sort by
enable you to
gallery
see
view.
everyone on the call. It's going to block your view of the text on the screen. So when you're reading on the screen, you just have to click on that
Let's
window
see,
with
side by
everyone's
side.
face on it and
Oops.
move.
That was odd.
I'll edit this out in post production.
There's
Memo
sorry,
to self.
there
sorry
are
to cause a problem here, but I just
two
would like to.
tabs at the top. One says meeting and one says Jonathan Tong's screen. So if you can just click on meeting, you see the gallery. You click Jonathan Tong's screen and you see his the text.
No. Colin, I believe you had a follow up question.
I did. Thank you. Hi, Jim. Good to see you. Was wondering, before I asked the question, I was wondering, were you there in the circle when Carla was almost tricked into negative time space?
Yes, both Don and I were there. And Ra mentioned that some of the support group were there to help her get back. So we were doing that. But we didn't know what was happening. We were just sending her love and light.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I was wondering, are you aware, like, was it specifically that Latwii helped? Because I know there was the holding of the hand that kept her grounded, right? And was that
After that, yeah.
okay? Okay. So it was actually in that moment, it was Latwii that metaphysically held her hand so that she would be grounded. And then since then, it was a physical holding of the hand that was used.
Yes, Latwii is also fifth density, and our negative friend was fifth density. So Latwii had the, I guess you would say, the power to deal with our negative friend.
Oh, okay.
Great question. Thanks for asking. Linda, did you have a question also?
I was wondering if this material is going to be published.
Yes, this has to be edited first because there are some edit problems there. It will be on our website, though, probably in a couple of months.
Excellent.
Looking forward to it. Shall we go ahead and read another passage? I believe we have one more. Let's see. Can you read this, Jim? Do you see it on your screen?
Oh, yeah. I was surprised at how I missed getting up and working on this project on my 2 days off. I did not, however, give in to the desire to keep writing with no breaks. Through the years, I've become absolutely convinced that the single most common error among those on a spiritual quest is not to allow enough downtime. The hard-working soul needs periodic off time to consolidate gains, integrate lessons, and revive fainting spirits. I am very serious about my time off, about lightening up and having fun. This time off gave me a chance to conceptualize, to maunder in mind on the general subject of this handbook. It feels wonderful to be started on the writing, and as I write, the actual shape of the book begins to work itself out. I have the feeling that when I finish writing down the brief story of my life that is the first chapter, the next chapter will be writing itself in a perfectly logical manner.
Nice. There is a second passage below there that seems to be on a totally different subject.
Yeah,
is that
it's not,
how
it's
it
not,
was?
It's not worth reading. That's her first boyfriend. They were going to get married, and he dumped her 9 days before that wedding and sent her into a turvy of anger and despair.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do remember reading about that in the Living the Law of One book. I believe she shared that story and then some in there. And it's amazing to me that she was still able to keep an open heart and was still able to have a positive, healthy attitude towards sex, given all of the pain and suffering that she had to endure before that. Was that something that she talked about much with you or was that something that was pretty much she had left in the past?
She didn't talk a lot about that particular experience, but in general, it didn't matter what a person did. She loved them all at the level of the spirit because at that level, it is obvious to her and to everybody who is awakened spiritually that they're all the creator. There's nobody that's not the creator.
Yeah.
No matter what they do.
So beautiful. Yeah, I really enjoyed the part about lightening up and having fun there, especially given the weight and the gravity of all the work that you all were doing. Was that something that came easy to her? Was she find it easy to lighten up and forget about the heavier stuff on a day-to-day basis?
She had a great sense of humor. Yeah, she took the larger view, and the larger view. You look back on things, you see basically why they happen. And sometimes you just see they're meant to happen. It kind of makes you chuckle.
Yeah, indeed. Linda, did you have a follow-up question? No, sorry. That was left over from last time. Sounds good. Well, thank you for sharing, Jim. Much appreciated. And would love to see more passages next month, if you don't mind. I had a question that I wanted to ask you about the Gaia meditations. For viewers who didn't know, L&L Research organizes, sponsors, holds space for meditations for Mother Gaia every day at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Jim, would you mind sharing a little bit about how that came about? And is that something that you practice every day at that time?
Yeah, it's every night, basically at 7 o'clock. But you don't have to be there at 7 o'clock Eastern or 4 p.m. Pacific time. All you have to do is set your intention to join the Gaia meditation when I have it here. And I believe that we started this back right before right after the Twin Towers were destroyed. And when was that? Anyway, after the Twin Towers went down, because we heard from a friend of ours that the Mother Earth had stopped talking to him. He had his connection with Mother Earth. And 3 weeks before the Twin Towers were destroyed, his Mother Earth stopped talking to her. So Gaia was Mother Earth, is Mother Earth. And so we decided that in honor of Mother Earth being able to take something as tragic as that, we would have a Gaia meditation to help everybody on Earth deal with any difficulty they might be having.
Such a beautiful thing. Yeah, I know, as you said, it doesn't matter that much if you're like meditating at the same time. Anyone can meditate for Mother Earth anytime, any place, and I'm sure it is added to the calling. But I know that's something that we time our meditations with the Seattle group so that we can be meditating at that time as well. And I set an alarm on my phone each day so that I can be meditating for at least 5 or 10 minutes at that time. Does your meditation last a full hour, or do you usually just do 5, 10, 15, 20?
It's usually about 15 minutes, but these days I also include other meditations. Our translator of the Law of One into Farsi lives in Iran. And so there's so many wars been going, even before the war started there, the government was killing protesters, thousands of them. So I also pray that a shield of light be put over Mason and his family. And then after that, I just have a general prayer for peace around the world because there's so many wars going on now. Pakistan and Afghanistan, and the long-standing one, Russia and Ukraine, and Israel and Palestine. A lot of them, I'm sure, don't make the news.
For sure. Linda, did you have a follow-up question?
Just wondering, Jim, do you don the magical personality when you're doing these meditations?
I don the magical personality every morning when I do the banishing ritual of the lesser pentagram in my living room where we have our public channeling meditations.
But not for the meditation, the healing meditation itself?
The Gaia meditations?
No, not for that. Not for that. I'm in the same, I have my Gaia meditation in the living room that's already been protected by the banishing ritual of lesser pentagram.
Okay, thank you.
It's a great question, Linda. Thanks for asking. If it's okay with you, Jim, I have a couple questions that were sent in a while ago by our friend Murray, and I believe they require some visuals too. Murray says, in this session, 96, question 21, Ross speaks of a specific mathematical ratios of the Crux ansata, but leaves the specifics as a mystery for one fond of riddles. Murray wants to know if you know anyone who's uncovered these dimensions and ratios that might be shared. So I believe it's referring to the Crux ansata, which can be seen in the potentiator of the mind.
Right.
And yeah, there was some reference to specific ratios here having to do with the Great Pyramid. Do you have any insights into that?
Well, I don't have any solutions that's solid. I've always felt, they say, we suggest viewing the so-called Great Pyramid if the puzzle is desired. So I think that if we put the Crux ansata inside a pyramid that is shaped like the Great Pyramid with the 76-degree, 80-minute angle at the top, and I don't know how to say this, let the top of the Crux ansata reach the top of the pyramid, then I think those two horizontal bars should touch the sides, and the bottom of it should touch the bottom of the pyramid. But that's just my guess.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. I had another question from Murray about another passage. This was from session 76, question 22. Here the questioner says, there is a crystal skull in the possession of a woman near Toronto that may be of some value in investigating these communications with Ra, since I think possibly this had some origin from Ra. Murray was wondering what it was that caused Don to say that he believed there was a connection to Ra with this crystal skull. Do you have any ideas, insights on that?
No, I have to say I don't. But I believe that that crystal skull is no longer in possession of the woman in Toronto. And I believe it was given to a fellow, I don't know where he's from, but he was here in Louisville, I guess about 15 years ago, down close to the Bachman Subaru, where my cars worked on every now and then, across the street. So I went down there and I saw the crystal skull.
Wow. Did it look like a normal human skull, or was it like
Yeah.
an elongated skull or anything like that?
No, it just looked like a human skull. It made out of crystal. You could almost see through it.
Trippy. Well, thanks for sharing that, Murray. I hope that answers your questions. We do have other questions that were sent in, but I know we have questions from folks here on the Zoom call, and I want to make sure they have a chance to ask as well. Starting with Elijah. Elijah, I think you had a couple questions that you wanted to ask. Go for it.
Thank you. And first, I just want to say thank you, Jim, for the past, present, and future work that you do in the service of others. So my question first is, given the unique and quite complex history of humanity, what do you feel the fourth density service to others social memory complex of humanity will be like?
Well, I think Rock went into a little bit of detail. They said that really words could not properly describe what is in the fourth density. But then as a social memory complex, we would not use words to communicate unless we wanted to. All of the communication would be telepathic. And every experience that any of us had ever had in our life, any lives, all of our incarnations, would be available to everybody in the social memory complex so that we could be of service in whatever way possible. And let's see, I think that's about all that I remember what Ra had to say about that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your question.
Sounds like we got a ways to go, as far as I can tell. Yeah.
I have one more quick, brief question. So in the context of wanderers, is it common or more of a rarity for self-aware wanderers to be biological siblings?
To be a lot biological
siblings.
Oh, well, yes. All wanderers are members of the Brothers and Sisters of Sorrow. That's their official name. And they come back to planet Earth, mostly sixth density, to be of service in whatever way they can. They all have certain talents. And when they go before the Council of Saturn and suggest that they would like to incarnate on Earth, and this is the plan they want to do, they want to take these talents at a certain time when there's difficulties, and then they incarnate and they go through the forgetting process. And Ross suggested that not all wanderers remember that they are wanderers, but some of them don't even need to remember it. They just go ahead and they're of service in many different ways. And so they see all of the difficulties on planet Earth now as wonderful ways to be of service.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love how it always comes back to service. Thank you so much.
Nice. Great questions, Elijah. Thank you for sharing. And say hi to Shanley for us. Raquel, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, it's just brief. You said most of the wanderers are sixth density. Do you think that that's mainly because they have the understanding of unity, and down here there's so much separation that if most of the wanderers came here because of their understanding of unity and how to bring that kind of bridge that separation gap, I guess. What's your thought on
Well, I
that?
don't know for sure. It's just my opinion that what you said is right. I think that because they have the wisdom of the fifth density and the love of the fourth density, that they have a greater ability to be of service and to overcome difficulties that may come there. Ross suggested that there were not very many fourth density wanderers because they are just early into the fourth density. And it takes a lot of what Ra called bravery or foolhardiness for a fourth density entity or wanderer to reincarnate on Earth. But I think there must be some fifth density too. But Ross said there were 3 sixth density groups. They were working with the ones of Egypt. They were working. Another group was working with ones in Atlantis, and then there was another group that's working with some entities in South America.
Nice. Thank you. Andy, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Yeah, it's another one of my stupid questions. But if all is one and all is as it should be, why do we need gurus and teachers? Like, you don't need to teach a flower how to bloom, for instance. So what is the purpose of spiritual teachers?
We need teachers at all level of our experience. We need teachers in grade school to teach us how to read and write. We need teachers in college to teach us how to do whatever kind of business we're going to do if we're going to be part of the financial industry. But we need spiritual teachers too, somebody to set an example, somebody that's been through what we want to go through so we don't have to grope our way in the darkness. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of spiritual teachers themselves probably found their way to the Creator and that unity, were very familiar with it by themselves. But we need teachers to give us a little direction along the way, some inspiration, sharing of their hearts, so that we can have a little bit of a guide to how to put this puzzle together. Third density has that veil of forgetting, and most people do not penetrate that veil at all. They think that everything is good or bad, that when we die, we go to heaven or hell, and we don't reincarnate anywhere. So we need teachers to let us know there's a bigger picture.
That's a great question, Andy. Not a dumb question at all. Did you have follow-ups on that?
Yeah, so many, but I'll try and limit them. So, I mean, having teachers, like, doesn't that also mean imply a hierarchy that, and also there's so many people out there who claim to be teachers who later on prove to be scammers. So how do you distinguish a true teacher from one who's just out to sort of attain attention and power and set an agenda and that? Like, how do you distinguish that?
Well, I think the average person, average conscious spiritual seeker of truth, needs to look at what has given them the way to get where they are on their current spiritual journey. And then when they look for a teacher to get further, they need to use their intuition as to what might be said to be correct. Just feel. What do you feel? Because inside you, there is the Creator. Inside you is the Creator expressing itself as your deeper mind, or maybe guides, or the higher self. You have help. So call on that help or use your intuition. Now, when we have channelings here in my home or anywhere on the planet, and I'm sure other people do this too, Carla developed a way of determining whether it was quo. She only had to do this once with Ra because she was conscious then. She determined what it was that she lived for and would gladly die for. And in her case, it was Jesus, because from the age of 2, she had many experiences with Jesus. So other people might use the Buddha, Muhammad, Christ consciousness, something that you challenge. Do you come in the name of Jesus Christ? Can you say Jesus Christ is Lord? And she would say that 3 times. And the way that she knew that that would work is because no entity would lie to Jesus.
Nice. Yeah, I appreciate the sharing and I appreciate the question. And I know the entity known as Quo has said many times that everyone is exactly equal. So, and that each teaches each. We can all be teachers and students to each other as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I guess that's one thing I've appreciated about the Law of One, that even though we're talking to fifth and sixth and fourth density social memory complexes, planetary consciousnesses, literally millions of years ahead of us in spiritual evolution, they never seem to put themselves above us as.
Oh, no, they always do the same thing that I do right here. They say, this is our opinion. Yeah. If it has a meaning to you, take it. If you don't think it's right, put it aside.
Yeah. Much appreciated. Colin, did you have a question you wanted to ask? Go for it.
I did. Thank you, Jonathan. So this question is regarding Ra 8010, which is when and my question isn't specifically about unpacking the archetypal mind or the archetype of the spirit in this case, but Don asked, now the 15th archetype, which is the matrix of the spirit, has been called the devil. Can you tell me why this is so? And I'll skip the bulk of what Rob replied as, because what I'm concerned about or asking about, because I know I have friends that are currently coming up against this archetype as we speak. And I think it'd be helpful to hear from you, Jim, like your experiences or your circle's experiences in LML research, whether it be past, present. When Ra says, it is also to be noted that an adept is one which has freed itself more and more of the constraints of thoughts, opinions, and bonds of other selves, whether this is done for service to others or service to self, it is a necessary part of the awakening of the adept. This freedom, and this is what I really kind of wanted to pinpoint, is he says this freedom is seen by those not free as what you would call evil or black. The magic is recognized, the nature is often not. So that kind of tells a story of like when an adept is awakening, the way they look at the world changes, and to others that seems wrong, and they may be seen as evil. Have you guys ever experienced that in LNL research or any of your groups to where that has been really evident, that other people are looking at you like, oh, these guys are crazy, they're nuts, they're off in the in the woods,
To my knowledge, nobody has ever had that experience in the group of LNO research. But back in 1995, Carla had heard from so many of her people write to her with questions about their spiritual path. They said, I have these beliefs that I've gotten from the raw contact, but I don't have anybody to talk to that doesn't think I'm crazy. And so Carla started homecomings here in our home so that we could have 40 people at that time. So if the attendee wanted to come here and talk about their spiritual path, that nobody would think they were crazy. They could talk about anything they wanted to, because we're all unique in how we travel the spiritual path. There are certain generalities to it, but we all have a certain way of doing that. So now that the homecomings have become so popular that for this will be the second year starting in May. We're about an hour and a half from where I live now. And last year we had 70 attendees, and this year there will be 80. So and then that happens also. We have groups that meet around where Jonathan is in Seattle. Some of them meet in Prague, in Berlin, and I believe there's going to be a new meeting in the Netherlands this next fall. And they're all doing the same thing: help people there talk about their spiritual paths, make presentations about their spiritual paths, share the seed of your thoughts, and maybe it'll grow in someone else. But with the thought, take it or leave it. It may or may not be for you.
Great question and beautiful answer. Much appreciated. I'm sure if any of us tried to tell our friends that we received great spiritual teachings by making telepathic contact with extraterrestrial entities, most people would probably look at us like we're crazy. So yeah,
usually doesn't go well at all.
I think more people now believe in UFOs.
True.
Because 2 years ago, before Congress did the whistleblowers, they were talking about it, and that they finally were going to come out of the closet and let people know that the government's been hiding information about the UFOs since the 1930s.
For sure.
And Barack Obama just recently mentioned that he believes in UFOs.
Yeah. Colin, did you have a follow-up question?
I guess only unless you wanted to speak more about the idea that like living as an adept with a different mindset has maybe like because I'm asking this kind of to help those in this situation that are like really going inward and experiencing the dark night of the soul and really changing their concepts and mindsets away from consensus reality, like things like where there might be some political opinion on something very controversial that now with this higher level mindset, this higher point of view, so to speak, not in a sort of higher way, but just a higher view of things. You understand that maybe what other people think are bad or is wrong, you don't think is bad or wrong anymore. It's all the creator. It's all love, you know? So that's the experience I was trying to like get to the point of, like, how, you know,
You care to comment on that, Jim?
Oh, what exactly is the question?
It's, yeah, just kind of like how, I guess, how you would, um, how you would help somebody who's struggling with that change in mindset. You know, what would you say to somebody who is struggling with consensus reality because their reality is changing so drastically as an adept?
Well, I think we need to remember that everybody's a creator. It doesn't matter what they do. We're all here to learn from each other. And if something's going on in the political or economic scene that is challenging to you and making you feel bad, that's food for growth to help you see that whatever they do, they're helping the creator to know itself. And that's the whole reason that all of everything exists. The whole creation is the creator attempting to know itself through every choice it's ever made in every life. So everybody is helping the creator to do that. And the creator blinks neither at the light nor the dark. So we can learn from the dark what not to do, and we can accept them as neighbors and friends. My neighbors next door have political beliefs that I don't hold, but I see them as my friends and neighbors. And every morning I take the newspaper up to their door and put it on their doorstep because the fellow has cancer, and I don't want him to go out into the cold or the rain. And so, you know, all is one. There are no mistakes. Just keep doing what you're doing and look at everybody as the creator and open your heart and love to them.
Well said. Yeah, I appreciate your mentioning the gatherings too, because I think it would be fair to say within the Law of One community, there's the whole range of political beliefs on the spectrum from far right to far left, and finding a group of fellow seekers that you can vibe with and have those conversations with, I think would be a worthy thing. Olin, did you have a question you wanted to ask Jim?
Hi, Jim. Nice to meet you. I just found this group yesterday and just discovered the Law of One last fall. So it's new to me, but I've been pretty immersed in it. I had a quick question about your meditation practice, but was wondering actually what's I think more important. I'd be curious to get your take just on the planetary transition now and your observations. I know it's a broad question, but curious to know what you've seen, like changes that you're seeing, you know, within yourself and without. Thanks again for taking the time.
Well, thank you for your question. Well, I think that Ross said that we have between 100 and 700 years left in the third density here, and they couldn't be more specific because our population is too volatile. And I think the volatility is a process of choices being made, choices to be of service to others or service to self. And they manifest in various ways. And unfortunately, most of the people of planet Earth are in what's called the sinkhole of indifference. They don't know there's a choice to be made. So I think we can look at all the difficulties on the planet as this is the way that the choice is being made. And if we don't like what's happening, we can do everything possible to help those who are suffering from some choices in war, in medicine, in whatever you want to talk about. So we can take that and use it as catalyst for growth for ourselves and to help whoever needs it. In a kind of mundane consensus reality way, I donate monthly to the Red Cross because they deal with disasters, flooding and tornadoes and fires and car accidents. And I donate to the Family Scholar House because they deal with the single mothers that have been abused by their husbands. And so, do whatever you can. Put your newspaper on the neighbor's door. Go across the street where my neighbor is. She's in a care home, and I'm getting a home ready to be rented by getting all the leaves and branches out of the yard. You can do anything.
Nice. Thank you. Great question for sure. I'm looking at the clock and seeing we are starting to run close to the end of our time. So if you don't mind, I did want to skip to Laura because I know Laura is joining us for the first time today and had a question she wanted to ask.
Hello, and it's an honor to meet you, Jim. Wow, this is a special day. You can hear me okay?
I can hear it. It's an honor to meet you too, Laura.
Well, I have a different kind of question. I like to dream and conceptualize about the higher densities and what life might be like there. I was kind of wondering if you do that as well. And I know I'm a creative, and I imagine that, that the creative side of me would be very helpful over there. What do you think that you will be doing in the higher densities, or what might that be like for you? Do you imagine it?
No, as I was saying earlier, Ross said that in even the fourth density, it's hard to describe it. Words cannot describe it. But I know that Ra also said that they have become the light that they have sought. So they said that they had left Venus. And so if they become the light, I'm pretty sure they're now inhabiting our sun. And their sexual reproduction is producing the light that we see on planet Earth that helps our plants and animals to grow and helps us to grow too by inspiring us. So that's the best I can do as to what it might be like, in the higher densities.
Thank you. That's great. It's great to talk to you.
Great to try to answer your question. I hope it makes sense.
Great question indeed. Thank you. Jim, if it's okay with you, I've got a bunch of questions that people sent in advance through our Facebook group, and I'm sorry to say I don't think we're going to be able to get to all of them. But if I can get to a couple of them, that would be great. Okay. Jamie wanted to know if you would have followed the same line of questioning that Dawn did during the raw contact. For example, Dawn was very interested in pyramids, UFOs, etc. Had Jim been the questioner, would he have asked different kinds of questions? And if so, what would they be? Is there any subject Ross spoke on that Jim would have liked to explore in more detail?
There is no way in the world I could have done any better asking questions than Dawn. We did get together the night before a session for the next morning. We talked among ourselves as to what kind of questions we wanted to ask. And basically, we'd go back to the session we just had and see where each of us thought would be a good way to go. And then Don would start that way. And sometimes Rob would give such an inspiring answer that veer off to another direction and find a whole new field of information. But now I don't think anybody in the world was better able to ask questions because he was very intelligent and he had investigated UFOs for 25 years and he had a great intuition. So I think that he asked the best questions I could ever imagine. But, we had a little input. We always had a chance to ask whatever we thought was right. But his was the best questions I can ever imagine. And he always said, I'm sorry for the stupid question. Let me try again. He wasn't thinking that he was great. He was a humble man.
That is funny. Yeah, it is fascinating how the contact started so soon after you joined the group. It was as if the third and final missing piece was there and that the contact was ready.
Yeah, Ross said we'd worked together before. So I think that eventually, it was meant that we get together. It took a while.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have another question from, I'm sorry, Raquel, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, this is a personal question, Jim. So you just mentioned Don and that he was a humble man. Were you close to him? You know, him and Carla had a very special relationship, and then you joined, and obviously you and Carla also had a love relationship. And so it's a bit of a triangle thing going on. Were you close to Don? Like, were you guys good friends, or were you just like um admired him as a person?
We were good friends,
Okay.
but it really worked out well for Don and Carla and myself because I had been living, well, I was born an only child, and I lived in the woods of central Kentucky for 6.5 years by myself off the grid. So I was used to solitude. And I had a bedroom that was back behind the office. And Don and Carla liked to stay in the living room where we had our Sunday night meditations and watch some television or talk. And most of the time I was back in my room. So they had a chance to do whatever they liked to do. They really just liked to be together. They didn't have to do anything.
Yeah. Because of
But now and then I would join them, and it would be fun for me to be there. And they'd like to have me every now and then. I was kind of like a yeast on the bread, whatever. But and then when it came to sexual relations, I think before I even met Don and Carla, they had sexual relations for about 6 months. And then Don said, I think I want to go back to celibacy. And Carla said, well, okay. And but she said, now if you want to take a lover every now and then, just let me know who it is, and I'll let you know. So never now and then she had a lover, but she was celibate for 2 or 3 years before she had another lover. And then when I came along, it worked really well because he was still celibate. Didn't want to have anything to do with sex, and I don't know why. Might have been all the fluids involved. And so, Carla and I, we were a perfect fit. When I helped them move from 2120 Douglas Boulevard, where they had their first meditations, the conscious channeling, I got to meet them. And then I helped them move. And one day I had my truck there, and Carl and I were loading some things and tucked over to Waterston Trail where we had our raw contact. Eventually, we hadn't gotten it yet. But after we were done, we just hugged. We had a big hug in the kitchen, and neither of us wanted it to end. But we didn't do anything else about it. But we knew something was there.
That's beautiful. I would also consider you the cherry on the sundae too, Jim.
I'm sorry, say again.
Like you said, you were the yeast on the bread. You were also the cherry on the sundae.
Thank you.
Your energy really helped push the contact to the end. So I just want to thank you for that.
Sure. Oh, it was my honor, my great honor. I hardly can believe I was actually in it these days. It just seems like another lifetime ago.
And what a beautiful love triangle. I mean, it really seems like it was a love triangle where there was a lot of love and a lot of sex, but none of the jealousy and envy and negative feelings that would tend
not
to
a bit of jealousy
tear something like that apart.
Yeah. Although I wish I was as tall as Don. I'm really short. He was 6'6", and I'm 5'3" right now.
To follow up on Raquel's first question, I mean, I never met Don. I'm only basing whatever impressions I have on what I've read or heard about him. But I sort of got the impression that he was somewhat aloof and maybe a difficult person to be friends with. Did he strike you at all as aloof?
I don't know if I describe it that way. I know that when I was coming up from where I lived in the woods on Sunday nights for our meditations, the Don would kind of look out the window to see who was coming. And there were a couple of folks that he really didn't seem to get along with. So he'd go out the back door and go down to the Aero Club and hang out there for a while. Nice. But in general, he was not aloof at all to me. We got along great. Nice. We were like brothers. He was my best friend for those 4 years. Well, my best male friend. Nice. Carla's always my best friend.
Would you describe him as an extrovert? Did he like being in big groups of people, or was he more of an introvert?
Well, I guess I'd have to say a little of this, a little of that. When he was a teacher at the University of Louisville, he's a professor of physics before the raw contact started. He had this charisma with his students, and they really liked to challenge him to see if he would accept certain things. So one day he walked into the class, and they all started throwing pennies on the floor. So he took the time to gather up about 40 or 50 pennies, and then he started the class. And then another time, One of them had a girlfriend that worked at, I guess it was a bunnies club, kind of dressed sexy. And so she was all sexy dressed, and she came in, she had a glass of, let's see, it was bourbon, I think it was. No, tequila, a glass of tequila under a little cloth. And so she walked over to him, she handed it to Don. He took the cloth off, he took a sip, and he said, too much bourbon, or something like that. And then she just kind of walked out of the room. And then he started a class. So he got along with people. He taught classes, but then sometimes he just liked to hang out by himself. He would go down to at that time, Bowman Field was the main airport in Louisville, and just hang out with his buddies and talk. And Carla would be back in their 2120 Douglas Boulevard apartment, hanging out by herself. So he was a little of this, a little of that.
Nice.
But one of the things that always got me, I never really knew what he was doing. We had a long couch on one side of the living room. He would lie down on the couch, and he would take his finger and he would draw things in the air. And I never knew what he was drawing.
A little bit of white magic there, maybe.
Well, I doubt that was white magic, but he was into white magic long before the raw contact.
Yeah, I gather. Super interesting, super fascinating, and really appreciate your sharing the stories. I think for most of us on the Zoom call and most of us watching on video, this is probably the best glimpse we get into Don as a person, as well as you and as well as Carla. So appreciate your spending the time to be with us today, as always. And I did want to let viewers know that Jim McCarty also meets with the Law of One Telegram group from Europe. That meets, I believe, on Wednesdays?
Wednesdays at 1 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah. So, Daniel, did you want to put in a plug for the Law of One Europe group and let our viewers know how to get in touch with you and how to meet Jim there as well?
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. We will be found on the homepage of LR Research under the section of study groups and Europe. There is a direct link to our group, and inside the group, you will have all the links and for the calls. We have a call as well on Sunday this week with Morris Hockland, talking a bit about Fort density. And yeah, and we have in our Telegram group also subgroups with book recommendation, recordings, and so forth. Yeah. Anybody want to join us? Feel free to check on the homepage of LR Research. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today, Daniel. Thank you for all you continue to do in service to others. And yes, one more encouragement to our viewers. So many different Law of One study groups out there. Go to the LNL research page, go to the contact link and find a group that you vibe with. Many of them meet online, many of them meet in person as well. We are about out of our time for today, Jim. So if you don't mind, I'm going to do one more thing, and that is, of course, our pop quiz. Pop quiz is just something we like to do at the end of our time together, just to end our otherwise serious discussions on a lighter note and maybe look for Law of One connections in pop culture. Today's going to be a little bit different since we are recording this in March. In honor of our brothers and sisters who follow the path of Islam. We are going to have a pop quiz on what I believe is considered to be the holiest of celebrations in the Islamic faith, and that is Ramadan. Do you know much about Ramadan, Jim?
No, I'm afraid I don't. I wish I did.
Me neither. I am sorry to say I do not have that many friends who follow the Islamic path, but I know there are many who do, and this is a very special time of the year for them. So, in honor of them and for our viewers, we're going to ask you a few questions just to learn a little bit more about this very special celebration. I did find an interesting passage on Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. This was from December 1995. A person named P said, "My questions concern the history of Islam. Would you be able to comment on the origin of the Quran?" Quo, I am Quo, and I'm aware of your query, my sister. We are working with this instrument to give it the image of the answer, shall we say. The means of transmission and point of origin of this holy work is the inspiration that the one known as Muhammad was able to open itself to receive at various times during its life experience, which it offered to the one creator as a gift or glorification. For this entity had many experiences of the unity of all things and was desirous in a great extent to bring back this inspiration that those of its peoples might also be blessed as it was blessed. Thus, the information that it had been gathered in this holy work was that which was divinely inspired, and though difficult to describe in the languages of the time, yet this entity set itself to this purpose and was single-minded in its pursuit of this mission, shall we say. Is there a further query, my sister? Yes. In the book itself, it says Muhammad was inspired and that the message came through Gabriel, that the work itself is the word of God itself and was absolute and had no flaw. Could you tell me the density of Gabriel and the identity of Gabriel, and what do they really mean when they say this is the word of God and is absolute? Quo, I am Quo, and am aware of your query, my sister. We will attempt to respond. The entity, Gabriel, was one of a number of entities that assisted in this transmission, being the focus of the effort, was one which worked with the entity known as Muhammad, as this entity had dedicated its life purpose previous to the incarnation to working with those of its own kind, shall we say. Thus, the effort was put forth by those of the density of love and light and balance, that being 6, working with those of the same vibratory level, which had taken incarnation for the purpose of such a mission. Is there further query, my sister? P. When you say those of the same vibratory level, do you mean then that Muhammad was a 6th density entity who incarnated as a 3rd density entity? Quo, I am Quo. This is correct, my sister. Really beautiful passage. I don't think I have seen it before, except when I was researching this pop quiz. Do you remember this passage, Jim, or do you remember any other times when the subject of Islam or Muhammad or the Quran came up?
No, I believe at one point, though, that Ra said Muhammad was the one that brought, there had been, let's see, how do I say this? Back in the Egyptian times, there was the Akhenaten was channeling the law of one, but the people of the area just gave it lip service. They believed in the many gods that came before. Right. And so that Muhammad was the one that brought the belief in one God back into the earth.
Yeah. Yeah, and so cool to see that he was, according to this passage, if I'm understanding correctly, a 6th density wonder. Very cool indeed. Well, let's learn a little bit about Ramadan. Let me ask you 3 true-false questions, and let's see what we can learn here together. First question, true or false, Ramadan starts at the same time every year? What do you think, Jim?
Well, the obvious answer would be true, so I'll say false.
It is false. Yes. Ramadan runs on the lunar calendar. So Ramadan is in the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, but it's based on the lunar calendar. So apparently it starts like 11 days earlier pretty much every year, which means it takes about 33 solar years to complete the cycle. So this year, Ramadan goes from February 17th to March 19th. Do you pay much attention to lunar calendars or solar calendars, Jim? Are you into that kind of stuff?
No, astrology's never spoken to me.
Nice.
But I think it's valid. It just doesn't speak to me.
Yeah, me neither. Although your archetypical mind for sure is something that is fascinating to me. Shall we try second question? How about this one? Yeah. True or false? During Ramadan, Muslims fast each day from sunrise to sunset.
I'll say true.
It is true. Yeah, from pre-dawn to sunset, about 11 to 16 hours, depending on the time of year, I suppose. So I believe they end the fast at sunset, something called iftar. That's really something, though. That's quite a discipline. I forget, Jim, have you done fasting before at any point as part of your spiritual practice?
I guess maybe 3 or 4 times. I fasted for 3 days and a couple times for 1 day.
3 days is a long time. Yeah. Was that a long time ago, or was that in the last few years?
That was probably 8 or 9 years ago.
Nice. Is it something you would recommend for Law of One students? Is it something
if you want to? I mean, if you find a reason for it, go ahead and do it. I was trying to get rid of some thought forms that I didn't like in my mind.
And was that helpful?
Yeah.
Nice. You heard it here, viewers. Elisha, did you have a follow-up question?
Just to expand on what Jim has said about fasting, I myself have practiced fasting quite extensively, not in a religious context, but in that self purification process. All negative thought forms will come right to the surface to be examined. So if you find that helpful, it definitely is an effective way to do that.
Nice. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. How about one last question, Jim? True or false? Charity is considered an important part of Ramadan.
True.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe charity has been considered one of the pillars of the Islamic faith all along, and especially during Ramadan. I believe Ramadan is also importance of charity and giving back to the community. So many mosques hold food drives or fundraisers for charity during Ramadan. Many mosques also host open houses to invite friends and neighbors of other faiths to join in them as well. Have you ever been to a mosque, Jim? Have you ever been able to participate in some sort of Islamic service?
No, I've never done that.
Are there many in Louisville? I wasn't aware.
I know of one on Westport Road, about 4 miles from here. It's a really beautiful building.
Nice. I did get to visit a couple times several years ago and got to participate in a couple of those after feast celebrations, after fasting. And yeah, beautiful people, very friendly, very welcoming, and very much wanting to make peace with their neighbors.
I have a tuning song that the fellow used to be known as Cat Stevens. He's Yusuf Islam now. And it's called The Beloved. It's talking about Muhammad. We use that. I use it for tuning for our public channeling meditation every now and then.
Oh, that's wonderful. Do you have any words of encouragement you'd like to share with our brothers and sisters of the Islamic faith who may feel unwelcome in the Law of One community or other communities in the U.S.?
Any religion, any race, creed, or colors, welcome in the Law of One. We are all one. And I'd be glad to help anybody that's having problems with whatever race or religion they are to be part of the Law of One. Any group.
Likewise. Welcome all. Well, thank you so much for being here, Jim. Thank you so much for sharing time with us yet again. Did you have any final thoughts, reflections wanted to share with viewers before we say goodbye?
Well, I want to thank all of you for sharing your open hearts and ask questions. If you didn't ask any questions, I simply ask that you continue your beingness, that I could feel your heart being open. When we share hearts like this with questions and answers, we are being the creator, knowing the creator, and I see the creator everywhere around me in all of these meetings with you, all meetings I have with everyone. I thank you all for being here, for sharing your love and light. I hope that my love and light has helped you a little bit further along your spiritual path. If not, then I'll try again next time. And I love you all. Thank you for being part of my heart in the Law of One.
Indeed. Love you much, my friend. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all our friends at LNL Research, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all of you who took time out of your busy schedules to join us on this Zoom call today, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To you who are watching this on video sometime in the near or perhaps distant future, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. We're sending you our love light and we are receiving yours. Until next time, in the love and light of the one infinite creator, Adonai, Namaste.